So this sikha is going to be linking last week's parsha and this week's parsha. This week's parsha talks about Moshe Rabbeinu, born in this week's parsha, started the process of dealing with Mitzrayim and the Geula and so on. And last week's parsha, the bracha that it said about to Yehuda, that Yankov gave to Yehuda, that the rulership will continue by Yehuda ad ki yaveh Shiloi, until Shiloi comes, and Shiloi we know is Gematria Mashiach and so on. So he's going to explain about the connection between Moshe, Mashiach, Gematrias. Those that like Gematrias, you're going to enjoy this one. A lot about the Gematrias. And as I've mentioned many times, if you want to find sichas about Mashiach, you got to hunt in Achron Shel Pesach Farbrengens. Over there, Achron Shel Pesach, the Rebbe used to speak a lot about Mashiach. And this is actually from a Farbrengen of Achron Shel Pesach from Tafshin Chaf Aleph, 1961. And he actually refers back to a sicha of the Frierdiker Rebbe from Achron Shel Pesach. Okay, let's begin. Enough about the sicha. Hey, it's the fifth sicha by the Farbrengen, where the Rebbe was talking over there. My father-in-law, in other words, the Frierdiker Rebbe, Diber Pam Besichas Achron Shel Pesach, once spoke on a sicha of Achron Shel Pesach. This was in the 1930s when the Frierdiker Rebbe was still in Poland. And Vitziva Lefarsim Hadvarim. Now here the Rebbe points out a very interesting thing, that the Frierdiker Rebbe told them to make this matter well known. Though in those days in Poland, that was not the normal order of things to tell them to publicize the sichas. For whatever reason, that wasn't the way it was done. In other words, what the Rebbe is trying to emphasize with this is how important the Frierdiker Rebbe felt this idea that he's about to share was, and how important it was that everybody should know about the following topic. So the Frierdiker Rebbe spoke concerning the pasuk in last week's parsha, ad ki yaveh Shiloi, until Shiloi comes. The Amar, and he said, Shiloi b'gematria Moshe. Very simple gematria, because the shin and the hey is the same shin and the hey of the word Moshe, and the lamed and yud, that's mem. It's a very clear and open gematria, very simple gematria, how it equals Moshe Rabbeinu. If you add the word Yavai to Shiloi, which is what it says, Ad ki Yavai Shiloi, is the gematria of Mashiach. Yavai Shiloi together is the gematria of Mashiach. Why is that? So he's going to explain. This is all from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Yavai, which is 13, is gematria Echad. So when you add 13 together with Mashiach, together with Moshe, you get the level of Mashiach. In other words, when you add Echad to Moshe, that's how you get to the level of Mashiach. So the Frierdiker Rebbe says, K'loimar sha'ideize she'iyeh inyan ha'achdus v'nei Yisrael. The Rebbe says, quoting the Frierdiker Rebbe, through the unity amongst Yidden, then Yamshichu berotzen Hashem Yisbarach es ha'geula ha'shleimai de Mashiach goel tzedek v'meir v'meinu amen. So then they will draw down, by the will of the Eibishter, the complete and total redemption through Mashiach, the righteous Redeemer, very speedily in our days. Amen. So this is the point that the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying, that it should be able to come. Mashiach should be able to come. It should be Yavai Shiloi. It should be able to be the actual coming of Mashiach. You need to have Yavai, which is the numerical equivalent of Echad, the oneness of Bnei Yisrael. Now, the Rebbe is going to analyze this some more and speak not only about the oneness of Bnei Yisrael, but even in a broader sense, about the oneness that takes place in general in the world with the coming of Mashiach. So first of all, the Rebbe poses a few questions. Tzarech Bir, we need to have an explanation. Aleph, one question is, Madua inyan ha'achdus bo rak beremes. Why does the idea of unity come only in a hint? Betevis Yavai, that it's hinted in the word Yavai, the numerical equivalent 13, Echad is 13. Why doesn't it say explicitly Echad? That's an interesting question because, after all, the entire pasuk is a whole bunch of gematrias. Shila is gematria Moshe, Yavi Shila is gematria Mashiach. So the fact that it's a gematria within a gematria, so that maybe makes it more difficult. But still, the Rebbe wanted something like Achdus, such a major thing, to be explicit. Since after all is said and done, that Moshe and Moshiach were hinted in two words, Yavai v'Shilai, because by combining Yavai and Shilai, you have Mashiach, and Shilai alone, you have Moshe. So if you need to come on to two words, so why aren't you making them completely separate? So then the hint could be in two completely separate words. Moshe b'teva echas, or Mashiach b'teva achs lagamri. The Torah could have found two separate words, one that will have a gematria of Moshe, one that will have a gematria of Mashiach, and that will be two separate things. Why do we need both of them? Moshe and Mashiach li'ismer b'teva shiloi. Why do we need Moshe and Mashiach to be hinted all or both of them in the word shiloi? Why do they partner in the same word? Again, we necessarily, with our limited minds, wouldn't be able to figure out how to be able to fit into the parsha and so on. But Hashem, in His infinite mind and infinite ideas, could figure out how to fit in over there with the brachas of Yaakov to Yehuda and have a separate word indicating Moshe and a separate word indicating Mashiach. The very fact that we're hinting them together in the same word must be a certain specific message that He wants to hint them in the same word, even though He needs to add another word to be able to come to the number of Mashiach by adding the word Yavai. So that, and Bechlal, the Rebbe always emphasizes and says that when there are different ideas hidden in the same word, that indicates a very close association between them. If he just wants to hint at Moshe, just wants to hint at Mashiach, so he could hint it in separate words. By hinting them and joining them the same words, so the Torah is trying to inform us that you should know that there's a connection between them, and that's why they're in the same words. So the Rebbe goes on to say, Isvav, bottom two lines, Vabir Baza, and the explanation of this is, Ba'agdamas bir Maimer Hazal, by first prefacing what the Chazal say that the Rebbe mentioned earlier in the Fabrenget, Moshe hu goel rishon hu goel achron. Moshe Rabbeinu is the first redeemer of Yidden from Golus. He was the first one to take Yidden out of Golus when he took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim. And just as he is the first redeemer, so too hu goel achron. He is the final redeemer. Now, this is a classic question that really doesn't really make much sense. What does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu is the Goel Achron? For multiple reasons. He's going to explain even deeper concepts further, but in a simple sense, in a very balabatisha way, Moshe is not qualified to be Mashiach. Very simple reason is because we know Mashiach has to come from the house of David. He has to be the offspring of David and Shlomo Melech. He needs to be from Shevet Yehuda. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we know, is from Shevet Levi. So therefore, Moshe is automatically disqualified. It's impossible for Moshe Rabbeinu to be Mashiach. So therefore, to say Moshe hu goel rishon, Moshe hu goel achron is obviously not referring to the literal meaning of goel, that he will be Mashiach. So now he's going to explain, not just because of the literal thing, it's not possible, but really the levels that they represent and the levels that they are at are really two separate levels. Top of the next page. After Mashiach goyel achron, Yigala ba'olam. In Yanaila Yosef Mashnas Galai de Moshe goyel rishon. Mashiach, who is the final redeemer, will reveal in the world something much higher. And what will become revealed through Moshe, the first redeemer, Moshe, since he is higher than Moshe Rabbeinu. Like it's brought down Tanchuma on the pasuk. This is also part of the haftarah of Achron Shel Pesach. It says, "Hine yaskil avdi, behold, my servant going on Mashiach will be successful. Yorum, he'll be exalted, v'nisan, uplifted, v'gava, and high, ma'oid, very much so." And the Medrash Tanchuma goes through that each of these expressions, Yorim, v'nisan, v'gava, ma'oid, is going about different individuals throughout Jewish history that he will be higher than. And these different expressions, for example, Ma'oid is the same letters like the word Adam. So he's higher even than Adam Arishon. And similarly, the other Lashonis indicate other tzaddikim, including Moshe Rabbeinu. Mashiach will be higher even than Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's why when Mashiach comes, he will teach Torah even to Moshe Rabbeinu. Many places we've had Nar Shiurim and Amar Chassidus speak about this, that the Avos and Moshe Rabbeinu and all the tzaddikim of all generations are going to come down here into our physical world with Chiyas HaMesim, and they will sit and learn Torah by Mashiach. Even though Moshe was the one that gave us the Torah and brought the Torah down from Har Sinai, still in all, Mashiach will reveal aspects and depths of Torah which was not visible or revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu to such a degree. It's so concealed and so beyond Moshe Rabbeinu that it says concerning Mashiach's Torah, there'll be Torah chadasha mi'iti teitzei, a new Torah. It's as if it's something entirely new will come out in the times of Mashiach. So we see that Mashiach will reveal in the world something much, much higher than Moshe. Also, he will reveal in the world godliness, which Moshe Rabbeinu, with all of his great revelations, did not reveal godliness in the world the way Mashiach is going to reveal. So still in all, despite all those differences between Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach, we still say that Moshe, hu goyel rishon, hu goyel achron, meaning that Moshe Rabbeinu has a part in the future redemption. That Moshe Rabbeinu takes part. And Moshe Rabbeinu is also someone that is part of the future redemption to such a degree that we call it Goyel Rishon Hu Goyel Achron, that he is the first redeemer, he is the final redeemer. Ella. But what does it mean if we're saying Mashiach is higher, Mashiach is actually going to do it, so and so on? This is not Moshe the way he has on his own. When Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama joins the neshama of Mashiach, together Moshe Rabbeinu brings his part that he has to bring to the picture, like we'll soon explain, and Mashiach will bring his part, and together the Geula will come out. So here it's already the beginning of the explanation why it's all hinted in the same words. Yavai Shiloi. That between both words we have hinted. In Shiloi we have hinted in the name Moshe, and in Yavai Shiloi we have hinted Moshe and Mashiach together. Because to actually have Yavai Shiloi, as I'm going to explain, that Mashiach should actually come and be in a revealed way, it's by the combination of Moshe as well. Moshe is a contributor. Moshe needs to combine with the neshama of Mashiach as well. So he's going to explain a very interesting point. Beforehand, we said that the Friedrich Rebbe says that for Mashiach to come, you need to have Yavai, which is Gematria Echad. Here he's going to say that the result of Mashiach's coming is Achdus. But the idea behind this is the effect of Mashiach in the world is Inyan Havshalom Va'achdus, the idea of peace and unity. like it says in the Haftarah of Achron Shel Pesach, when the Sikha was said, V'gor Zevim Keves, that the wolf will live with the sheep. That even though they are usually at each other's, literal throats, and the wolf wants to kill the sheep, still in all, they will live together. That's the ultimate level of Shalom and Achdus. Now, this is not contradictory to what the Frierdiker Rebbe said, that you need peace to be able to bring Mashiach. And here he's saying that the peace is a result of Mashiach, but rather, like the Rebbe always says, that one, a chana for something, a preparation for something, needs to be like that thing. So if the Mashiach's times is about peace and unity, so it's understood what leads to Mashiach's times, that's also peace and unity. And this also helps us understand why we always explain, and the Rebbe always emphasizes, that the idea of Avas Yisrael, Avas Chinam, love for no reason, is what's going to bring Mashiach. Just like the opposite of Avas Chinam brought about the destruction. So the same thing, you need to have the opposite of that to bring Mashiach. The question is why? What's the connection? But because Mashiach is about unity and oneness in the world, it's about bringing about peace in the world. So therefore, the preparation for it and what manifests that is Avas Yisrael. Derech Agav, the Rebbe always brings out how the closer we come to Mashiach's times, even science is proving how there's really the world is really not a whole bunch of disparate things and separate things, but it really boils down to like a certain underlying unity that's to be found in everything and in all creations. So to be able to reach that time of unity and oneness, we need to have the unity and oneness now as well. Recently, last week, we had the fast of Asar B'Tevis. The Rebbe always spoke about that on Asar B'Tevis is the time when Samach Melech Bavel. The Rebbe asked, what does it mean, Samach Melech Bavel? He supported. What's it mean he supported? So really, the king of Bavel was really, by making a siege on Asar B'Tevis, he was really supporting the Yidden. He was showing the Yidden the means and enabling them to reach the means of what would undo the Churban, what would prevent the destruction of Beis Mikdash to happen. Because what is a siege? A siege locks everybody inside. Whether they want to or not, they're in a state of unity. There's no exiting, there's no entering. Everybody has to work together and so on. And if we would have been Zeiche, so then it would have been a Samach Begali, it would have been a revealed type of support that instead of destroying Yerushalayim, he would have supported and helped that there should be a unity amongst Yidden that would have brought the prevention of the destruction. Anyway, so this is what Mashiach is about. Mashiach is about bringing peace and unity in the world. So now he's going to explain that this is also connected with Moshe. The general idea of peace is also to be found in Torah that was given through Moshe Rabbeinu. The Chazal say, whoever is involved in Torah for the sake of heaven or for its own sake, the sake of the Torah itself, he makes peace in the court of above, in the heavenly court, and the court down here below. So we see that Torah is already about peace, which means Moshe, who was the deliverer of the Torah, he represents peace as well. So there is that common denominator between Moshe and Mashiach, and he is the predecessor and the precedent for Mashiach by already introducing peace in the world through Torah. So he makes peace in the upper realms, in the spiritual realms, and he makes peace also down here. So now the Rebbe goes on to say the difference between the peace that Moshe Rabbeinu started off and began the process of peace versus the peace of Mashiach's times. But the peace that's affected through Torah is only within the person themselves. Like to explain, look at the Torah of the Alter Rebbe. In explaining what does it mean making peace in the court down here below. What type of peace is it making? Through Torah becomes peace between the godly soul and the animal soul. So therefore, the peace of Torah is limited or primarily shekolzo ba'adam levad. It's primarily in the person. And even if we say it goes outside of the person, but again, it's within humankind. That Tamid HaChamim marbim shalom ba'olam, Tamid HaChamim increase peace in the world. It's not just within themselves, but within Yidden B'chlal and humanity B'chlal. But it still remains in the Sug HaMedaber. It still remains in human beings. We don't see any aspect of peace of Torah when it comes to the world. Ilah Mashiach Yiful Shalom Gamba Il Machai, as opposed to Mashiach, will affect and bring about peace also in the world of animals, of living creatures, like we brought the pasuk before. The Gaor Zevim Keves, that a wolf will live with the sheep. The Rebbe says right away that there are those that want to say that it's only a metaphor. The meaning of this is, it's not like those that want to explain that's only in a way of a metaphor, it's only by way of an analogy. There are those that want to explain that what does the pasuk mean to say? That we know that the Jewish people is likened to one sheep among 70 wolves, and when Mashiach comes, the wolves, meaning the nations of the world, will live peacefully with the sheep. In other words, we're not talking about something that's completely and utterly supernatural, that the human being, that all of a sudden will find that the laws of nature will cease to be. And this is actually, the Rambam also says that it could be interpreted as a metaphor. He doesn't say it must, and that's the only way of being explained, but he says we don't have to explain it in a miraculous manner. But that is all in the Rambam's approach, that the Rambam in general, in his Sefer on the Halachas, tries to speak about the more natural things that will occur in the times of Mashiach. Like the Rebbe explains, it's talking about the first period, and the second period is going to be supernatural. However that is, but the Rambam is not talking about the miraculous aspect, and therefore he translates the Gar Zevim Keves as being a metaphor. It's only an analogy, a mashal. It doesn't mean literally. So the Rebbe says, but that is not the way we explain it. Like Rav like to explain the Torah Chassidus, skip the parentheses, that the meaning of the pasuk is in the literal sense. That in the literal sense, we are we say that the physical wolf, whose natural tendency is to be a predator and to be a carnivore and to eat the sheep, will live in a peaceable manner with the sheep. So that's the simple pshat, that's the simple meaning of what the pasuk is saying, which is a result of Mashiach. So we see how Mashiach will affect peace in the world, even when it comes to the world of living creatures, not just like Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu gave us, that makes peace within man and maybe with amongst people, but even in a lower level of the world where there's no achdus, he makes peace as well. And to such a degree does he make peace, even when it comes to the supernal serpent, the one that was responsible for all of our tzaras that happened over there in Gan Eden with Adam and Chava. The Nachash HaKadmoni is not just someone that, like it says over there in Chumash, that he will hate and try to bite and poison man, and man will try to crush its head and so on. But even more so, it's the root for all matters of bad and separation. So one might think that when it comes to the Nachash HaKadmoni, peace won't reach him. So the Rebbe says no, that we see from Yeshaya Navi, Gam boy Yifal Mashiach Shalom. Also in the Nachash Akadmaini, also in the supernal serpent, also in the Nachash that was there, responsible for all types of disunity and separation and division and bad, also in him, Mashiach is going to affect peace. That is how powerful the peace of Mashiach is. Yet, it's not just that Moshe Rabbeinu began the process and only managed to affect it in Adam, and Mashiach will affect it also in the world of living creatures, but more than that, Moshe Rabbeinu empowered this process of peace. Next paragraph, and this power to be able to make peace in the world in its entirety, not just within humankind, was placed and given in Torah, that was given through Moshe Rabbeinu, like it says, Hashem oiz la'am yitain, Hashem's strength gave to his nation. Hashem yivarech es ha'am v'shalom, Hashem will bench his nation with peace. Ve'ein oiz ela Torah, and we know that what is called strength, it's Torah. So the strength at the beginning of the nation, at the beginning of the pasuk that he gave his nation, is the reason for peace that says at the end of the pasuk. Hainu sha'Torah nisinas koyach al inyan hashalom. Torah is the empowerment. Torah gives the capability for the idea of peace. Rather, but in Torah, the way it is now, the matter is only in potential. And like we said, it brings about peace within the Nefesh Bahamis, Nefesh Lakis, and so on. But Vavidosam shall Yibnei Yisrael, and the avoid of the Yidden is to draw this down in actuality. And that also goes back to what the Sikha, the Frierdiker Rebbe beforehand said, that to be able to have that Yavai Mashiach, Yavai Shiloi, a Mashiach should come, you need to have Yavai, you need to have the Achdus, that the Yidden have to have Achdus, the Yidden have to draw this down in actuality. When Imtza comes out, Sham Shachas, Inyan HaShalom Ba'il Maidei Mashiach, Ein Inyan Chodesh, that the drawing down of peace in the world through Mashiach is not something new. What Mashiach is doing is revealing something that's already there in the Torah. But like everything that needs to be revealed, initially it's not revealed. Initially it's concealed. At the moment, this matter is in a concealed state. Top of the next page. Kidam shel bnei Yisrael, who, and the job of the Yidden is lahamshich inyan zeh begilui, to draw down this matter that should be revealed. And again, how do we bring this down? It's not just through learning Torah, but again, like the Frierdiker Rebbe said, it's through the achdus of the Yidden in the Torah, and the achdus that's resulting from the Torah, that they bring this out and they reveal this. And the conclusion of this matter of the achdus that's in the world is in the coming of Mashiach. So again, Moshe Rabbeinu brought down the Torah, which has in it and brings about peace, and that contains in it and potential and the empowerment for the peace that's going to be the ultimate peace that Mashiach is going to bring. And our job from Moshe Rabbeinu's time till Mashiach's times is to bring down that peace and unity more and more till the conclusion and the completion of this peace and unity will be with the coming of Mashiach. Now it's understood the answer to the question that we said earlier, that we asked earlier about why does the Torah decide to hint Moshe and Mashiach in the same words. If he wants to give gematrias for the words, let him have one word will be a gematria for Moshe, and a different separate word will be a gematria for Mashiach. But that's not the message that he wants to say. He wants to say that Moshe and Mashiach is Goyal Rishon hu Goyal Achron. He wants to show how they're really one continuation, and Moshe's Torah is what empowers the unity that's going to be when Mashiach comes. Kinyanam echad. Their idea is one. So now the Rebbe adds another point. What's the difference between the gematria of Moshe and the gematria of Mashiach? Moshe is only Shiloi alone. I'm sorry, Mashiach is only Shiloi alone. Excuse me. Sorry again. back to the first version. Moshe is only the gematria of Mashiach of Moshe of Shiloi alone. You add the word Yavai, and then you have Mashiach. So what does that mean? El Shub Mashiach nitvase fa'inyan the Yavai, she'inyan ze Yavai me'ahelam ala gilui. By Mashiach, it was added this idea of Yavai. In other words, that what does Yavai mean? It will come, meaning it's about revelation. So you need to have that the Moshe should become, and when does it become revealed? When does the Shalom of the Torah of Moshe become revealed? When there is Yavai Shiloi combined, means Mashiach. This will come from the concealed state to the revealed state. Now, there's a piece over here, the Fabrengen, that's, he says in the footnote, is missing over here. He somehow connects it to the idea of the concept of, he says, Hatzne Lechas, idea avoided the Hatzne Alechas Hashem Lekecha, that you should go in a modest and humble way with Hashem, your God. Doesn't really, again, it's not that he doesn't explain it, it's just those that were writing down the Sikha after Yom Tov, this is a Sikha that wasn't recorded. So afterwards, the Chayzrim didn't remember what was the connection that the Rebbe brought us into. Okay, so let's go from Ad Kiyav Shule of last week's parsha to Moshe Rabbeinu of this week's parsha. Combine them together, and let's bring Mashiach out begolui through our achdus and through our unity and through our oneness.